I have had the great good fortune in my life to have met, I guess, a couple of American presidents. And I remember one day about 15 years ago, my great friend Arthur Milnes, who's a historian from Kingston, Ontario, called me one day and he said, I'm going down to Plains, Georgia pretty soon to go have a private dinner with Jimmy Carter, whom he knew because he'd written to Jimmy Carter when he was a high school student.
Oh, wow.
And Mr. Carter wrote him back, and that started a friendship between the two of them, which saw Arthur go to Plains more than 25 times to visit his friends, Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter. Anyway, he said to me, do you want to come down and have dinner with me and the former president and the first lady? And I think I paused for about 1/100th of a second before saying, yes, absolutely I want to go. And it's something we ended up doing a few times. Arthur and I and a few other people went down to Plains, Georgia. We had dinner with Jimmy Carter and Rosalynn Carter. It was, as you might expect, it was extraordinary. On the one hand, to be having a meal, spending time with somebody who's had their finger on the nuclear button and who was the most powerful person in the world is really quite astonishing. Also, the fact that he was so open with us, you could ask him anything. He would give you honest answers. John Michael, I had one case. We're sitting there in Mum's Kitchen in Plains, Georgia. It's a restaurant, and there's people all around, and, there he is sitting there in his red plaid shirt and his blue jeans and his cowboy boots, and nobody's paying him any attention. It's a former president, but of course it's just Jimmy. Yep. They all know him down there. And I said to him, this is going to sound like a strange request, but I got my camcorder here. Would you mind doing an interview with me right now as we're having dinner? He said, no problem. I took the camcorder out, put it on my shirt. This is the day before iPhones, there's no such thing. Got the camcorder out here. We're eating. I'm eating with my left hand. I'm shooting with my right hand. I'm asking him all sorts of questions about everything. How did you enjoy the All Presidents Day at the new Bush Library?
I enjoyed it. It was nice. Nice affair. Ford and them were very gracious.
And I raise it all now, of course, because Jimmy Carter turned 100 years old this past week. Really an astonishing accomplishment, not only because it makes him the oldest living American president ever, but if you look at what cancer did to his family. He lost so many members of his family prematurely to cancer, and he himself had cancer, I think less than 10 years ago, and somehow managed to beat it back. And the notion that he would ever turn 100, if you're part of the Carter family in Plains, Georgia, you just wouldn't think that was on. But there he is, and I'm glad that historians are reevaluating his time as president, which at the time was seen as a failure because he didn't win a second term. Yes. But with the fullness of time, there were a lot of accomplishments there to talk about, and I mentioned some of them in the piece.
Well, one of his accomplishments before he became president, he's also, I don't know if he's technically a nuclear engineer, but
he is. Yes, he was.
Very, very proficient with nuclear technology.
And worked at Chalk River near Ottawa.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, this is the Canadian connection with Jimmy Carter. Yeah. He helped, I don't know how serious an incident it was, but he helped fix a serious incident at Chalk River when he was a younger man. So on behalf of Canadians, thank you, Jimmy Carter.
Amen. And happy birthday, Mr. President. And may you have many more.